Hey everybody, here you see me getting ready to start my practice painting, my final one before I start working on the rice paper. I'm going to be doing a white magnolia branch with some white blossoms on it. Here I'm working on the newsprint paper and I'm trying to keep my blossoms small enough and condensed enough that I'm not going to take up too much room on the paper once I switch to the rice paper. So here I'm just using white on my rice paper. I'm also going to be using Payne's Gray with a little bit of umber mixed into it. And then finally, I'm going to add just a little hint of pink into the petals. So here I'm working and reworking the petals. White can be very absorbent. It can be very transparent. So I'll go over each of the petals that I want to be a little bit darker twice or maybe even 3 times once they've dried. But I do want some of these blossoms to fade into the background. So you'll notice that I've watered down a couple of them so that they're much fainter. So now I'm switching brushes. I'm switching from a large brush to a small brush, and I'm adding a little bit of brown into my Payne's Gray. And I'm going to start working on the sepals that hold the blossom to the branch and then do the branch. I'm doing this very similar in style to the cherry blossom or plum blossom branch, which means it's very knobby, though much thinner. And it'll have lots of little twigs and little bits and pieces that are coming off of it here. So again, you notice I'm trying to keep my piece condensed. I really don't want to take up a lot of room because I want to have that traditional negative space, especially since I'm going to be adding in a chop or a kanji or something that I want to have some sort of traditional writing in the corner. So once I switch to the rice paper, you're going to see that it is going to absorb much faster and it's going to look a lot different. So go slow, be prepared for it to bleed a lot more. And that's why I have you do as many practice paintings as I do. That way you're confident and not as hesitant, and you're not going to have your paintbrush sitting on the paper as long. Here, I'm starting to add some snow dots. I want to have some snowflakes kind of in the background because this is a late winter or early spring painting. So I just put some white paint on my brush and I just tapped it a little bit to get a little bit of an idea of snow. Now I'm adding just a tiny little tinge of pink and then a few more snow dots, and we're done. Hello everybody. So here is the practice painting that we just finished of white magnolia. So now we're going to bring out our pieces of rice paper. Now you will want to put something absorbent behind your rice paper. You will not want to do this straight on the table. You want something absorbent behind it. So if you have some extra pieces of newsprint paper, great. If not, you can use some regular computer paper or drawing paper, both of which I put into your box of supplies, or you can use regular newspaper. But you just want to have something absorbent behind there, something absorbent and flat. So your rice paper is very thin and it's very absorbent. It's going to suck up the paint really, really quickly. So your first one is probably not going to be your best one. You will want to do more than one of these unless you've practiced the heck out of this already. But we'll see. We'll see how we do. Okay, so I'm going to start with my white paint, and you're not going to be able to see it nearly as well as you did on the other video because the newsprint paper has a natural kind of tinge to it. So it's got a little bit of that gray look, whereas the rice paper is pure white. So I'm not using as much water in my paint as I did last time. And you'll notice that I'm going to move a lot faster. I don't want my paintbrush to stay down nearly as long. So I want to move quicker and with more assurance. Which is why we do as many practice paintings as we do. All right, so I got one blossom in here. Oh. See how absorbent it is? Even when I flip over the paper, you can see right through it. It's very, very thin. That looks pretty good. All right. 2 over there. I'm going to do one up higher. Why not? Let's thin it down just a little bit. So I'm just going to my water, wipe my brush off a little bit. So I want this one to fade back just a little. Yeah, good. Oh, this one look a little bit more open. Little bug, go away. Fly away, little bug. Be free. It's not on my paper. Pretty good for that one. And one more. Yeah, somewhere down in here. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh no. Oh, big bug. All right, so I've cleaned off my large brush. Now I'm switching back to my smaller brush. I'm going to start working on my branch. Again, this is Payne's Gray that I've added a little bit of umber to, just to give it a warm tint. I'm going to start putting in my sepals, and I'm letting my brush split. I really want to get that rough, kind of furry look so that it gives me those tiny little lines. That's what I'm looking for. I really like that split hair look, especially on branches like this. Sticking in any place where there's a joint. And notice I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom of the page. I would like to leave some room, especially since we're going to use these to create a scroll. You want to have some paper that you can roll up down towards the bottom. A little bit of extra space. Let's see. Looks pretty good. I feel like there's an open spot right here, and I don't want this to come straight down, so I might do like a little ghostly blossom right in there. Because I feel like having this branch come straight down just isn't gonna look that good. That's what I'm looking for. Now I'm putting on some twigs, little bud endings here, adding some texture, and little dots. Lightening up by going into the water and wiping off my brush so that I get that kind of ghostly gray. Maybe a couple of little twigs that are just kind of floating back here. Yeah, I like that. Looks pretty. Not too many. Again, I think I'm going to put a little bit of blossom right there just to fill in that hole. I don't know. Maybe we'll just leave it. What do you think? We'll try that. Okay. So now, when I lift this up, you notice all these little spots. that's where the paint and the water have seeped through the paper. So I want to let this dry overnight for 24 hours before I attempt to do the tea wash on this. But I can go ahead and do the kanji. So what I'm going to do is pause the video so I can look up the kanji I want to use, and then I'll show you how I'm going to apply it. All right, so I'm back, and this is the kanji that I'm going to be using. It's the traditional word for magnolia in Japanese is mokuren, but if you look at the kanji for it, it's tree and lotus. So this is what I'm going to be writing. I'm going to be writing lotus tree. There's different ways to write it, and you can look up your kanji in Japanese or Chinese. You can go to Google Translate. You can, use various different things to come up with what you want to do as far as the text goes. Now, you notice that our flower is taking up a good bit of our paper already. So we do not want our kanji to be huge. We want it to be small, and we want it to take up a corner of the page that's not already full. So because our flowers are closer to these three sides, I'm going to put my text up in the upper corner up here. Unlike American writing, which goes left to right, Chinese and Japanese writing goes up and down. So I'm going to have the kanji for tree up here in the corner, and then lotus directly below it. Now, I'm not expecting you to be able to write this, off the top of your head with the paintbrush right away. So what I'm going to do is give myself a template to use underneath of it. So I'm going to be drawing the kanji for tree, which is actually quite similar to the Chinese symbol for big. Kind of looks like a T with like these little flares down at their bottom. So that's tree or wood. Lotus is a little bit more complicated. I'm going to go straight across, and then I have two little bars here that crisscross it. I have another bar that only goes as far as that. Go straight down, straight across like a capital I. Excuse me. In between the arms of the capital I is a box with a line through it. Next to this is a long leg like a J or an L, with a leg coming off here and here, and then an accent mark right there. So here we have the kanji for magnolia, which strictly translate into lotus tree. So I'm going to place my rice paper directly over top of it, and then I'm going to move it around until it's where I want it. I want it to be right about here, close to the corner but not touching it. Looks good. I like it. All right. And this not newspaper, this computer paper below this is going to act as my absorber. I'm going to use my smallest brush, and I want to use a little bit of red. Traditionally, the writing is in black or red, but I like red because it gives a beautiful contrast to what we have going on already. I'm using this relatively dry. I don't want a lot of water on this because I don't want it to spread. I want to keep that beautiful point. I'm wiping the brush off a lot. A lot. I'm going to hold the brush closer down to the bottom so that I have more control. Okay, there's our tree. I'm going to do all my horizontal lines first. And I'm going to go back and do my vertical lines. Oh, I missed a horizontal line right through the middle of the box. Looks pretty good. Clean my brush off. Carefully lift this up off of the computer paper and move that out of the way. So now, like I said in the last video, I'm going to let this dry for 24 hours before I do the tea wash. So we're done for today.